Hi, welcome to Stand With Us. I'm Roz Rothstein, your host, and we're here today with two Israeli reservists, Ellie and Carlos, and we are going to hear from them about their time as part of the Israeli army, being a reservist, and also they're here to discuss their experiences and build bridges in America with all kinds of people. I think you're speaking at churches and to college campuses and to high schools. So it's very exciting to have you with us today. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
So which one of you wants to begin and give us a little bit of your history?
Please, Carlos.
Would you like to begin?
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
So I'm originally from Colombia, from Bogota, Colombia. Grew up there in the Jewish community. And then after a trip to Israel, I decided to do Aliyah, to move to Israel, and served in the IDF. I joined the IDF and enlisted as a paratrooper, and I served there for 2 years and 8 months. And I serve in reserves 2 weeks to 1 month every year.
So when we were speaking before during the break, we were talking about the fact that your trip to Israel as a kid was when you were 16 years old, but it made a huge impact on you, and you wanted to make Aliyah from that one trip, yes?
Yeah. So, as growing up as a kid, I didn't have the connection to Israel. I didn't really understand why do I need to be connected to Israel. And during that trip, I visited the Western Wall, and I felt the connection to the religious part, to the soul of the Jewish people in Israel. And then we went to an IDF base for 2 weeks, and I put my uniform, and I remember thinking, this is the uniform my grandfather wore when he fought in the Independence War in 1948.
So you have that history.
So I do have that history, which I didn't really know. I didn't ask my grandfather. But then after the trip, I started asking these questions, and I decided I need to go and defend the homeland that my grandfather fought to establish.
Wow. Before we speak more about this and being in Israel and being part of the army, can you just give us a little glimpse? What is it like now in South America regarding anti-Semitism?
So when I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of anti-Semitism. People just didn't know about Israel, about the conflict. Maybe they didn't care. Now, in the last years, because of the education in universities and colleges, people are getting a lot of misinformation about the Middle East and the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians and the Middle East in general. And this misinformation is leading them to think that Israel is the cause of all the problems in the Middle East. And because they identify Jews, every Jew, with Israel, a wave of anti-Semitism has started inside the young people, the new generation.
So it feels like it's getting much worse now. Like we're looking at Chile. It seems to be very hardcore anti-Semitism. Do you know why that is?
There is a very big community, a Palestinian community in Chile. The strange thing is that the Palestinians that went to Chile they're mostly from Bethlehem, and they were mostly Christians running away from Muslim radicals and during the 20s, the 30s, and on. So they were running away from exactly the kind of radicals that we're fighting. And they should be the number one supporters of Israel.
You should be best friends. You should be best friends.
And actually in Colombia there's a lot of Lebanese Christians who are really supportive and are good friends of the Jewish community. But in Chile, because they're misinformed, they identify with actually the enemy that made their grandparents move to Chile.
Wow,
But,
that's very interesting.
But it can be changed. I have seen a lot of articles, a lot of political articles in newspapers from Jewish authors and from Chilean authors explaining this history to these people.
You know, education is really the key, and that's what Stand With Us is all about. Having you make this trip, the two of you, which is part of a team of many more teams making this trip through the United States and also Canada, to really build these kinds of bridges and make sure that we inform people and eliminate so much of this misinformation that's being pushed out there. Just with simple meetings, simple stories, simple human, contact from one person to another, so they don't have to have a fantasy. So are you happy living in Israel?
Yeah, of course.
And if you weren't, would you be honest? No, I'm kidding. No, I'm sure that if you weren't, you would probably leave.
Yeah.
But you're loving it?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you're in California, but I always have the feeling that I need to be back home.
It's funny. I look at the two of you and I think that so both of you made Aliyah, and we'll learn more about you in a few minutes. But you made Aliyah. You went and served in the army. You're still serving in the army as reservists. It's pretty extraordinary. You guys don't even realize you're living the dream that so many people like me will never live.
Never say never.
Never say never. Yeah, but life gets complicated. You did it at the right time in your lives, and it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, really. Yeah, it's pretty here. We have a beautiful weather, but not so far from Israel's weather. All right, so thank you very much for all that. We're going to come back to you in a few minutes. Want to learn a little bit about Ellie, but I think we'll do that right after the break. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Stand With Us. We're here with Ellie and Carlos, who are reservists in the Israeli army. They have both made Aliyah to Israel, one from Colombia and one from France. We're about to hear from you, Ellie, who will tell us all about that. But before we do, I just want to remind you that if you go to standwithus.com and you hit under resources, go to resources, you will find all of our amazing materials like this one, which is relatively new, and you can ask us for it. You're entitled to, as a JLTV watcher, you're entitled to one free copy of anything that you would like to choose. So just let us know. I'm watching JLTV. Roz said I could have one free copy of something. Send me this, and we will do that. Our goal is to inform, to educate the public. We do it in a myriad of ways, with your help, of course. So if you're able to support us, please do at standwithus.com. So back to you. And our wonderful guests here, both of whom made Aliyah, as I said, both of whom have served in the army. So thank you for that, on behalf of all of us who care so much about Israel and the safety of the Jewish people and the country. So I wanted to thank you both for your service. So Ellie, tell us about yourself. Tell us about making Aliyah from France. Why did you do it? What motivated that?
Actually, I was born and raised in France, as you say, and we lived like a perfect Jewish French family. It was really important for my parents that we received both values, the Jewish tradition, the Jewish culture, and the French culture. And what's pushed me to immigrate in Israel, to make my Aliyah, is actually a few things that I saw when I lived in France. And first of all, like maybe we know the anti-Semitism in France is really strong, and I saw a lot of protests, pro-Palestinian protests and manifestations, who the people were really...
I'm sorry, you saw a lot of protests and what?
And manifestation.
And the manifestation.
And so pro-Palestinian. And
to pro-Palestinian.
Yeah. There I saw people were not only protest for a cause, but they were protest against people. And these people it was against the Jewish people. And when I'm saying against, they were full of hate, burning Israeli flag, screaming death to the Jew, we want killing the Jewish people. And when I saw that, not only once, but a lot of time, I understood that maybe I don't have my place in France as a Jewish French person.
Mm-hmm. You know, I want to tell you, I didn't get to tell you this during the break, but my daughter was in France in 2014 during the war with Gaza, with Hamas in Gaza. And it's interesting, she saw the same thing as a visitor. She came out from somewhere and all of a sudden there was a riot and they were screaming death to the Jews. And she immediately, tried to hide because she thought, oh my God, they're going to kill me or something. It was very scary for her. This was her visit to France. And I'm a daughter of Holocaust survivors. This is a grandchild of Holocaust survivors in France listening to this kind of garbage now, today, 2014. So I understand.
It's actually really, when I saw that for the first time, it took me at the really darkest point of our history. I was learning what it was the Holocaust, what was the Shoah was. And I was seeing these people, and I say to myself, it's exactly the same. Maybe the person are different, the people are different, but they want exactly the same. They want to kill us.
So you left your family, but I think you said your sister also made Aliyah.
So I have a sister and brother who are older than me, who made Aliyah a few years before me.
Ah.
And me, after the age of 18, after my final test, my baccalaureate, the French SAT, I decided to move in Israel. And I left my parents in France and my little sister. And then I joined the Israeli Defense Force.
Wow. And is your little sister still in France?
No. After actually a few months, few years, my parents decided to join us in Israel. And so now my little sister lives in Israel.
I see. So the whole family.
Family.
I know you lost your mother, and I'm sorry
Yes,
about
indeed.
that. So
Actually,
sorry.
to move in Israel, it wasn't an easy decision because on the same time my mother was sick, but
sick.
I felt that I have to do that. If I, like you say, it was the perfect age. Just after my final test, didn't start to study my BA or the college. It was the moment for me to live the Zionist dream.
Yeah, to live the Zionist dream, or a dream, anyways. Being in Israel and how children grow up there so free. It's just really beautiful. So then what? So you joined the army, and you joined which part of the army?
I joined a special unit in the Nahal Brigade. I was a part of the special unit. I was in the recon and counter-terror unit. And after a long training, I was a soldier of the unit, and then we were active soldier.
Okay, and which unit did you said?
I served in the paratroopers, yes.
Okay, both of you very significant roles. So as part of your tour, the two of you are talking about incidents that have come up that make you stop and really think about the morals and values of the Israeli army, a moment in time that makes you feel something really crazy amazing and changes you forever. I know we were talking about the Syrian refugees
Yes.
coming to the border, and what you've seen. So, would one of you like to talk about that?
Actually, if we are talking about the Syrian refugees, I think that it's a great example to show. Actually, in Syria, people live in civilian war, and unfortunately, the most of the injured people, they are the civilian and family, mother, children. And Israel and Syria share the same border, and Actually, every night during a lot of months, we received the order to open the gate, to receive injured people, to giving them the first aid, and to bring them in the nearest hospital in Israel.
So I want to go back to this when we come back from the break. I'd like you to tell us a little bit more just about the Syrian refugees, the Syrians who are so hurt and being taken to Israeli hospitals. I want to pick up on that when we come back, but we will be right back. Time for a short break. Welcome back to Stand With Us. I'm Roz Rothstein, your host, and we're here once again with two amazing people who, both of whom, around the same time of your lives, decided to make Aliyah, join the Israeli army, and are now full citizens of Israel and reservists in the army. So once again, thank you for that. We were talking just before the break about the Syrian refugees and how Israel is trying to do anything possible within its limits to help Syrian refugees, and some of the things that you've seen. At the break, you told me about, unfortunately, a pregnant woman who was very hurt. She probably lost that baby. I mean, you've seen so much at the border. Do you want to tell us anything?
Actually, I think that the most difficult things, it obviously was to see and to help these people, but to know that all the world knows what actually happened in Syria, and the world's doing nothing, nothing. And if we were talking about the Holocaust and the Shoah, it reminds me exactly the same. The world knew about the Holocaust, and they did nothing. And now all the entire world know what's happened in Syria, and I think that we are not doing enough. The world not doing enough to help the Syrian people. So that was the difficult part in all this story.
That realization, and now you can understand, although it's always going to be difficult for me. I lost 80 relatives in the Holocaust, 80. But it'll always be difficult for me to understand how the world stood by. But here you have, again, with the Syrians, just a horrific situation. But let's focus a little bit on what Israel is doing at the border.
Actually, the army, we have like few fields. The army is on the daily basis helping the Syrian refugees, taking them in Israel, giving them some help, first aid, grabbing them in the hospital in Israel, taking care of them. And after that, or they'll come back, if they can, they're coming back in their country. If they can't, I think that they're staying in Israel, but we don't really know. And on the other side, we have a lot of citizens, Israeli civilians, who want to help because we know that we have to help the people because of our history. And a few days ago, I wrote a story about Israel who fundraised a lot of money to buy blankets and to buy food for the Syrian refugee. But when they wanted to send them in Syria, they understood that they cannot because the refugee told them that if ISIS or if the army saw that they are receiving help from Israel, they will kill them. So they had to erase every mark of the Israel on the blankets on the food. It means taking off the tickets or the name of the products.
Okay, so I hope that's clear to everybody watching that Israel is helping but needs to remove any identification that shows that it's from Israel on a blanket or food. Otherwise, the recipients are going to be murdered just for using something from Israel. I want to shift gears now and get your take on your trip, which is now in the United States, mainly California, maybe some other places too. But you're speaking to churches, you're speaking to high schools and college campuses. What has that been like so far?
So coming from Israel, we expected um, to find a lot of misinformation in colleges and maybe a lot of confrontation. But until now, we've been very inspired, and it's very good to see that there's a lot of people who understand and support Israel. And we were in a few churches yesterday and the day before yesterday, and it's incredible to see how much support they have for the country. And when we're talking about college campuses, I think it's a harder place to teach and to speak the truth. But I'm very optimistic because you have a lot of people that just want to learn, and that's the people we want to reach and hopefully change their minds about Israel.
Or at least open them up to some new questions and new ideas. Even if it isn't going to change their minds entirely, at least they'll have more context and be able to put Israel to a face, so it's not so far removed and they don't have to believe every single thing they ever hear. So once again, we have every different possible way to educate people, including the trips that we sponsor each year with reservists like yourselves. Both of you, by the way, ran away from what you felt to be very rising levels of anti-Semitism in your country, and you went to a place that you felt your heart was, connected to, which is, both of you have a very, very similar story, but from different parts of the world. I'm sure you've thought of that before.
Yes.
You probably meet other people that in Israel that are reservists that were in the army like you. Have you met a lot of other people who made Aliyah like you?
I served with people from Russia, from United States on daily basis. I met a lot of people from all over the world. I think that it's the strength of Israel, that we have people from all over the world who share the same dream.
It's incredible. Me too, in my unit, the same. I served with Ethiopian soldiers, people from Venezuela, Uruguay, Argentina, India. It's incredible.
Israel is a melting pot.
Yes.
It always has been. It's always been a melting pot for so many years. People coming from all over the world to live the dream in Israel. So it's time for us to close the show. I wish we had more time with you. Thank you very much for being with us today. Really nice to have you guys. Once again, thank you for your service. And thank you for joining us today on Stand With Us at JLTV. Once again, if you're in a position to help us and support a tour like this, which is extraordinary and life-changing for people that will meet them, of all ages. People of all ages will meet them and be changed forever. So help us if you can. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time on Stand With Us on JLTV.
תשובה